So now we need to do the right-hand part, which is a little bit harder. Now, as I look at this, I see that I'm going to need the mean. I'm going to need the standard deviation. So before I get knee-deep into this side of the formula, I'm going to stop and get those values. Now, an easy way to do this is to use Excel, and it has an average function. Your calculator may have a function built in on it called average, or if you're unfamiliar with this in Excel, you can look at the extra credit work, and I tell you how to do that. Plus, you earn extra credit points, right? So that's always a good thing. And I think in Connect they also ask you for the median, and there is a function in Excel called median, and there's even a function in Excel called skew. Now, before we get too excited about all these, because I know, standard deviation. Before we get too excited about this, let me tell you this. Remember that we have multiple formulas for standard deviation, depending on whether it's for a sample or whether it's for a population. Also, Excel sometimes uses a different approach to getting to that answer than your textbook does. And of course, your textbook is the quote-unquote right answer because it agrees with Connect. So we need to, make sure. Well, it's kind of like you tell your kids or younger brothers and sisters when they use a calculator. You can't use a calculator to learn how to do addition because you need to have a sense of whether or not the answer is reasonable. Okay, so I went through here and I said, okay, here's an average of 24.74, and as I look at these numbers, I do have some large ones, but I would agree that that's a pretty fair number, right? For the median, remember that you must sort the data, and I would agree that 15.8 looks to be in the middle, and remember we had an odd number of data points, and so that is correct, right, as we look down there, and it's the 8th item, right? So finally, I kind of wonder about this standard deviation. Well, let's take a look at this, and I'm going to bring up some work that I've already done just because the video has to be short. Here's our standard deviation for a sample formula, and I did make one, no, okay, I thought I made a mistake there, but I'm okay. Here's my 15 data items. Here they are sorted, right? Now it says take each one of those and subtract from it the mean. So I did that, and here are my answers. Next, I squared them, and this is in accordance with the formula. You take each x value. From each value, you subtract the mean. For each and every answer there, you square it. Then you take all these answers, and the squared values, and this sigma here means to sum it, and so that's what we did, right? Let me move this formula down so you can still see it. And then it says, okay, take this and divide by n minus 1. We know that n is 15, so I divided by 14. I divided 9,045.296 by 14. And I came up, and then it says to take the square root of all that. So I came up with 25 point, let's say 42. And okay, so that agrees with what Excel came up with. So very good. So what do I need to do now? Well, that actually was just the standard deviation calculation. So I'm going to do that same thing again, and I'm going to steal a little bit of this just to save a little bit of time, because this side of the formula says I take each one of my x values. So I'm just doing a copy and paste here to save a little time. Okay, so here's each one of my x values, and it says subtract from each one of those x values x bar, and so I did that here. Okay, good. So it did that. And then it says, oops, this is not exactly right, is it? Then it says a couple things. It says then divide x minus x bar by the standard deviation. So here's another benefit of using Excel. I am going to use my equal sign. Oops, I'm about to run out of time. I'm going to use my equal sign there, and I'm going to take here's my answer for x minus x bar. Remember I just did that, divided by and either one of these, the standard deviation value. In Excel, I have to lock on to that value, right? And I'm going to then do that for each and every item. Okay, now what does the formula say to do? The formula says to cube it, so we need to do that.